So the question we're going to be reviewing today, guys, is why did so many tech stocks, AI, you see NVIDIA, you see AMD, all these computer companies that have these stocks sell off even after they've beat their projected earnings, even when their fundamental news is looking good? Why do we see them sell off? Well, I'm going to show you guys here. We're going to break down a position that I have that's down on AMD. We're also going to be breaking down some other things here on Robinhood Legend. Couple things. There was some articles that came out regarding the AMD stock and how some people may just be going with NVIDIA because NVIDIA is the pure play. And you see that a lot of companies that beat their earnings, we can see that AMD shares fell even after beating earnings. So if we take a look at how much they actually fell, I bought after they fell and they continued to fall. And you can still see that AMD is continuing its downward direction. How much of a downward direction? Well, we've really seen that if we just go on, let's go on the 1 hour here on the overall direction of AMD, which is one of the stocks that a lot of people had said if we're going to see innovations in technology and we're going to see more of more of a boom regarding AI and things like that, that we would see AMD as one of the main companies that would be growing as a result. But we kind of see the exact opposite. So let's go into why and let's go into what the overall direction looks like. If we just look at the trend with AMD, we can see that AMD all the way back here, year to date. Let's go on the 5 year real quick. We can see that their overall direction has obviously been up, right? They've been trending upwards on a consistent basis. And all the way back here when they had a low in October of 2022, all the way up until today, we see that they've really continued this upward direction. And even though we saw this pullback here, there's a couple reasons why it pulled back, even though they surpassed their earnings, even though they had positive growth. And we're going to go into that, but let's just look at the pattern alone. It looked like it was due for a pullback. We had seen that it was really pushing up here early October, sold off. It was really pushing up until earnings. And then right here on the 30th is when we had that earnings come out and we saw it sell off all the way back down to 142. Now, again, if we look on the overall trend, and here is our resistance, and we're looking at our support, we can actually draw that line here. As you can see, this was a support, this was a support, this is a support. It was acting as resistance here. We saw that EMA really hover around the resistance. And then we saw that it crossed below the EMA and it's staying below. So you see how right here we saw the downtrend, it crossed below this moving average and then it was getting rejected. See that green line? It's getting rejected by that moving average. We see it push up for a momentary few days here. And then again, right when earnings came out, it was hitting that moving average and it pushed back down. Now, not really happy with that direction as obviously we're an investor in the company, right? But there's a couple things that we got to look at. Is it weird that we see a company go down after earnings? No, it's not. We had some job reports. There was less cuts on jobs this month than last month. But and you would expect, okay, that's a good thing, right? We have less job cuts this month as compared to last month in the total US economy. But if you look at the job cuts over the course of the last year, the same time last year, we're up about 30% more job cuts at this time this year than we were at this time last year. And so what does that mean? Well, you're going to see a widespread reaction to the market. And that's actually the reports that we had come out as well simultaneously. And so when you have those reports come out, you're going to see an effect in the market, right? It means that we're seeing still a slow. We had just checked out on Semiconductor, which is one of the leading technological companies in the semiconductor space, and they're based out of Scottsdale, Arizona. They provide all of the tech that makes up the sensors for example, Volkswagen, right? Volkswagen is a company that utilizes the technology from On Semiconductor. Um, and what did they say in their earnings? Right here, they had their earnings call earlier this week, and we saw them push up after earnings. I actually made a trade. I covered that. We had a nice profit that we made during that earnings report because we were identifying this pattern, but also we were anticipating an earnings growth. They had a big earnings growth, but even in their earnings call, they're saying, hey, we're seeing that a lot of people are expecting massive growth in the AI tech sector, but we're not actually seeing a massive demand on our chips and what we're providing that's as it was about 6 months or a year ago. It's still in that slow. We don't want to have too much supply. We don't want to have too much inventory, and they're really, keeping a close eye on their inventory. Of course, they're reporting positive growth, but they're even saying, hey, we're seeing a slow in the demand for the tech. Of course, there's also people that say, well, the reason why you see all these stocks going down is because you could look at this article from it's from hosts Shauna Smith and Brad Smith. They were breaking down AI, and this is what we heard from Meeks. He says, I have a third of my portfolio NVIDIA. It's been a rock star. I don't think what AMD said yesterday is going to put NVIDIA in peril. And with big move from NVIDIA that we've already seen, the fact that it's only down 1% today on AMD's sin. So AMD, they beat earnings, but they also sold off aggressively about 10%. They say it's actually a pretty good sign. And then you could see that he says, so the way I look at it, even though AMD will be a viable number 2 to NVIDIA in the AI chip market, and even though the stock trades at a discount to NVIDIA, I just go with the pure play. I just buy more NVIDIA on this news and continue to avoid AMD, which has been a good trade for me. So what does that mean? Well, basically we're saying, oh, this guy's saying there's only one winner, it's NVIDIA. Well, let's take a look at that, because I don't know that NVIDIA is seeing a massive push up over the last week when this article was published. We can look here on the 1 week. Let's go ahead and click on the 3-minute. And I mean, it's been downtrending. This article came out on the 29th or the 30th, and we've seen a downtrend since he said that. And it's actually below this moving average. It's been getting rejected by this moving average. And as we know, they've been beating their earnings. So what gives? Why are these stocks going down? Even Tesla, after beating earnings, we see Tesla selling off. They got up to resistance, they're selling off. And the number one stock that had positive earnings was Microsoft, and a lot of people were anticipating Microsoft was going to shoot up tremendously. In fact, I even had a position here on Microsoft that we could see right here is down about 100. Why is that? Well, the reason is because the market is a healthy pullback that we've seen. It's been up tremendously. And what do we have coming in the next 5 days that's extremely important to the United States economy? We have the elections, right? So when you have the elections on the way, you got maybe some shaky uncertainty in the market. And you're looking at tech in terms of supply. It's not that these companies aren't doing amazing innovation. They're doing crazy innovation, right? That's the borderline scary. But when you look at the economy, right, we have some job cuts that are seen in the economy that are higher at this time this year than they were last year. And we see that we're right here at an election time. And technically, right, so there's two things fundamentally that would make sense why we'd see a sell-off. And some people say, well, they beat their earnings. It should be a given that we're going to see them continue up. But even technically, I mean, let's just look at NVIDIA. If we look on the 1 year, we're at an all-time high for these tech companies. a healthy pullback, at least back to the moving average or back to a price that they can retest, that right now is being retested here on Nvidia. There was a previous resistance, and really the technical side says, hey, we're overbought, we are overextended here on these, and you can see that. So it's widespread market economy. It's um, an overextension technically on the technicals. And then it's also, hey, we have an election coming right now. This is going to be a volatile time. Because when we see the market sell off today 5%, what could happen 2 days before elections when everybody's saying, oh, it's going to be Kamala, and for some reason the markets are up 12%, right? You really can't. This is a volatile time when you can't really predict or have a clear picture. The only thing you can really go off of, right, is, are all three things lining up? And that was kind of what led to this small mistake here over on Microsoft, right? Of course, Microsoft's a great company. They're an amazing company as far as what they've been doing for the past 20, 30 years, right? But the technicals were showing that we're at a resistance here. So good company, right? They beat their earnings, so they're a growing company still. But we're also here, we're at a resistance. So for me to buy right here at my purchase price, at a resistance, maybe not the perfect entry, right? We're still in it, but now we're at a support. Now we can see it bounce. We're at a previous support. And also, what else did we have going on fundamentally? We have the jobs report that was improved from last month, and some people are like, that's great, but again, got to look at it year over year. You got to look at where we're going. And then you have the elections, right? So there's three kind of fundamentals that tied into a negative outlook here in the tech sector and in the overall stock market. But then you have some positives like earnings. Now, when you see a stock that's not at a premium price, it's pulled back from what many would consider a premium price. And not only is it back down to what might be a better deal for the price, the technicals are looking better. And then we'll have some more clarity here over the next week as the elections play out, and we'll have some more clarity around the direction of the stock market as a whole. So it's really just one of those times. We're going to have volatile times. I would say if you're in the long term, you're fine. Don't worry about it. If you're in the short term to near term, hold on. It's definitely a rocky time to be in the market. So it's also a time when you can make a considerable amount. And of course, with that, it's going to come more risk. So you got to manage your risk accordingly. You got to make sure that if you're in a position where you're losing more than you like to, or you're at that position where you're saying, I don't want to lose this much percent, you got to set a goal for how much you plan to manage that risk. Where would you cut losses, and where would you take your profits? Just something to look at. So that's kind of an overview for the week. Overall, we're green on the week. We've had some great trades that took place earlier in the week. We had On Semiconductor, which was a nice bounce right here at this support. And they reported earnings, and that really was a catalyst for some of their growth. And yeah, we also have some other ones in the works that we're doing inside our Stockmate community. If you guys would like to watch me trade live every single morning and surround yourself with other entrepreneurs and investors, I would encourage you to simply take a look at that second link in the description. That's Stockmate. And we have our best deal ever, as we just recently launched. You can get that coupon code again in that second link in the description. So that's going to do it for the market today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.